Hello, everyone. How are y'all tonight? I see a few of you have said hello. Hello back. See the verse of the Kesa. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Gata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. The fragrance of this incense fills our room, protects and guards our minds from wrong thinking. Fragrance of this incense unites us with precepts, concentration, and insight. We offer it for all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I shall become one with the Buddha. I resolve that I shall each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I shall become one with the Sangha. In the spirit of universal fellowship and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. Do 20 minutes silent meditation tonight. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and offering flowers, candles, and incense, hearing the Dharma and training the mind. Great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma and their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of this Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let all karma be resolved and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. May their vows be fully realized, and may they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression, for those who are imprisoned who should be free, for all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophe, man-made or natural. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, all those working toward the healing of those afflictions. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. Sabe sata sadahantu avera sukajivino katang punya phalang mayang sabe bagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Nina. Hi, Marianne, Daphne, Sally, Ellen, Shani. It's good to see you all here. And other people who haven't said hello yet, hello to you also. So let me ask you a question. How many of you were watching Dee Dee squirming around in my lap instead of meditating? I'll get record numbers of hits again. I don't know if it's because he's so cute or if it's because it's so funny to watch me try to concentrate with a little dog squirming around in my lap. But the last time he made an appearance, I got like 4 times. Yeah, okay. I got like many times the number of views as usual. Anyway, it's all right. I'll take it. He is adorable. Lola's down here on the floor. Lola's had a bad week. Sunday night when I got home from spent Saturday at Brevard Zen Center at a Zazen Kai day of practice. And then Christopher rode over there with me. And then we went up to and spent the night at White Sands. So we'd just be there because it's on the way. It's, it's about a half hour from Brevard Zen Center. So we stayed at White Sands. And when I got home Sunday, Lola was not eating, not drinking, not going outside, having a hard time standing up. She's very old. So Sunday, I would have told you that chances of her still being with us by tonight were slim, but she has kind of rebounded in the last 24 hours. So anyway, she's a good dog. She's had a good life. So I thought we'd continue with the Book of Joy and the 8 pillars of joy. And so the second pillar of joy is humility. And it's kind of interesting because, this whole thing is based on interviews with and discussions with 2 of the most famous people in the world right now, the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. I mean, I would guess in the developed world, at least, and much of the not so developed world, almost everybody knows who they are, or at least would recognize their names if they heard them. So to hear them talking about humility was kind of interesting, or to read them talking about humility is kind of interesting. And so the writer is asking the Archbishop, can you explain the role that humility plays in cultivating joy? And the Archbishop starts off, says, they tell the story of a bishop who is about to ordain candidates to the priesthood. And they were speaking about virtues, including the virtue of humility. And one of the candidates came up to the bishop and said, my lord, I've been looking in the library to find a book on humility. And the bishop said, oh, yes, I've written the best book on the subject. I mean, that's the kind of the nature of talking about humility. And the writer goes on to say, I thought he might also share the joke that he often tells of 3 bishops. These 3 religious leaders were standing before the altar, beating their breasts with great humility, saying how before God they were nothing. Shortly, one of the lowly acolytes in the church approached and started to beat his chest, professing that he too was nothing. When the 3 bishops heard him, one elbowed the other and said, look who thinks he's nothing. I love that. Anyway, he goes on, this is the writer talking, saying, stories about false modesty are funny because humility is not something that one can claim to have. As soon as you say, I'm the most humble person you've just betrayed that, obviously, right? So it says, for this reason, I think that the Archbishop was laughing about the question even before I'd finished asking it. He didn't want to claim to be an expert on humility. Nonetheless, he and the Dalai Lama were saying that humility is essential to a life of joy. And it's exactly this humility that allows these 2 men to be so approachable, so connected to others, and so effective in their work in the world. And that's, I think that's true. I mean, when you, I think one of the signs of a truly, I won't say enlightened, but a spiritually advanced person, someone who really lives the life, is that they have some humility. They're not full of themselves and how spiritual they are. Is it says the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop were both insistent that humility is essential to any possibility of joy. So why is that? Why is humility essential to joy? Could you not be full of yourself and be joyful? And I think you couldn't. I think one of the things about humility is that it enables us to see ourselves realistically, and to even see ourselves in the act of failure and recognize when we fail, recognize our shortcomings, our weaknesses, and things like that, without being without getting upset about it. If you can accept yourself as a human being, just like every other human being, then when you fail, it's not that big a deal, because human beings, by definition, make mistakes. And failure is a part of learning and part of growth. So if you can't, I would argue that growth is a necessity to joy, and that you can't grow if you can't experience humility. Anyway, he says, when we have a wider perspective, we have a natural understanding of our place in the great sweep of all that was, is, and will be. Yeah, see yourself as being, not the greatest thing in the universe. I'll talk about that some more in a minute. This naturally leads to humility and the recognition that as human beings, we can't solve everything or control all aspects of life. We need others. There's this teaching in Buddhism. The second great talk the Buddha gave after his enlightenment, first one was setting the wheel of Dharma in motion, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path. Second one was the not self characteristic, which you could sum up, not entirely accurately, but not too far off bad, to say it's not all about me. That's in large part, that's the effect of recognizing that there's no self that's eternal and esteemable, rateable, and all of that. And once you can accept that, then you can come to some sense of interdependence. In which case, he says we need others. I think that's really kind of selling a little short. I think that we don't exist without others. The Archbishop has poignantly said that our vulnerabilities, frailties, and limitations are a reminder that we need one another. We're not created for independence or self-sufficiency, but for interdependence and mutual support. The Dalai Lama was saying that we are all born and all die in the same way. And at these moments, we are totally dependent on others, whether we are the Dalai Lama or a beggar, whether we are an archbishop or a refugee. I think that's really beautiful, and it's really true that we can't do anything without relying to some extent on others. I've told this story before, but perhaps not on YouTube. I'm not sure. This was some years ago. I was driving up International Speedway Boulevard from DeLand into Deltona. And there was a business on ISB where the business owner had put one of these changeable letter marquees out in front, and it said, "The government didn't build my business, I built my business." Well, in the meantime, this business exists where it is because of a federal highway. It is where it is because of a highway that the government built. And no doubt, this business owner's customers and suppliers and everything else gets to that business by way of this highway that he didn't have to go out and build because the government built it. And the government, of course, not really being some entity, but being us, his friends and neighbors and adversaries and people he didn't like and people who died a long time ago and all that kind of stuff had contributed in tangible ways, dollars and cents ways. and then also, with their labor and their efforts and their engineering skill and all of that, to create a road that allowed his business to exist. But he was too busy thinking he'd done it all to recognize that. And how can you experience joy in a situation like that if you can't recognize the contributions of others? So, by the way, I'm getting a lot of like this thing that YouTube does sometimes where I get weird static. The screen moves around and stuff like that. It's distracting me a little bit because it worries me a little bit. Is the image fairly stable to you guys? Let me know if it's not. Sometimes I think it's just on my end, and I'll look at the video later and it'll be fine. But if it's jumpy, let me know. I'm just curious. Anyway, as part of our service here on Wednesday nights and as part of services at White Sands on Sunday mornings and stuff, it's always a fair amount of bowing. So what's the purpose of this bowing? Are you getting that? Yeah, sorry. I don't know what does that. I don't know if it's just the internet's a little unstable sometimes, or it's some issue with YouTube or what. Anyway, sorry about that. So what's the purpose of bowing? Is to recognize that we're not the highest point in the universe. And, you could say that the Buddha that we're bowing to is I don't think I marked the page, is how did he put it? A natural understanding of our place in the great sweep of all that was, is, and will be. When you're bowing to the Buddha, you're acknowledging that great sweep of all that was, is, or will be, the eternality of Buddhahood. And so, in Bright Dawn, where I ordained initially, or before the Soto Zen, it's the way of oneness. That's what we practice, the way of oneness, recognizing, which is really very much all about recognizing that we are, speaking of the Dalai Lama, we are one with everything. So I saw this documentary where they were interviewing the Dalai Lama, and they told him the joke about the Dalai Lama going to a hot dog vendor and saying, "Make me one with everything." I'm flashing. Oh no. And the Dalai Lama didn't get to. He was like, "Yes." It was very funny, and it was funny largely because he was playing along with it, and that's we can't, if without humility, we can't laugh at ourselves. We can't laugh at ourselves. And what do we do when we screw up? Beat up on ourselves, go into denial about it, pretend it wasn't really a mistake. What do you do? So I agree that humility is essential to joy, being able to laugh at yourself and see yourself as a human being, and to be okay with that. Really, to be okay with that. I think one of the things that brings more students to me, for spiritual conversations than any other one particular thing, is probably perfectionism. And there's a lot of that. Oh my God, I can't fail stuff going around. And I think, with maturity, we fail and the world doesn't come to an end, and it doesn't prove that we're useless or, horrible people or anything like that. And so we get comfortable with failure. And I think that's probably what happens with a lot of people. But also, if you can develop humility, I think you're just a lot happier for it. So next week, I will talk about, what have we forgotten? Humor. Yeah. humor, which is good. The Buddha was a funny guy. Really was. And we'll talk about that a little next week. In fact, I've given Dharma talks about that. In the meantime, if you want to prepare yourself, you could watch one of Ajahn Brahm's Dharma talks. He's very well known for being able to use humor as a teaching tool in the Dharma. And it's very funny. And by the way, humble, is one of the talks that he gave that stuck with me the most. He was talking about, thank you, Sally. He's talking about not too long after he opened the monastery in Australia. And I don't know if you would find this talk online anywhere. I saw it ages and ages ago or heard it. I don't remember if it might have been, they used to pass them out on CD at Wat Florida Dhammaram. And he's talking about how this woman came to the monastery to visit the abbot. And when she showed up, he had been trying to unclog a toilet. And so he was in his kind of like most simple version of his robe, didn't have his ceremonial outer robe on or anything like that. And he was filthy and he was sweaty and he was caked in dirt and dust and stuff from rooting around in the bathroom and trying to change out the toilet or whatever it was that he was doing. And, and how this woman was like, came in and asked to see the abbot. And so he said, okay, I'll go get him for you. and went back, took a shower, put on, clean robes and came out. And she didn't even recognize him because he wasn't dirty and sweaty and covered in grime and all that kind of stuff. And I can't remember what she said, but it was something like, I can't believe that, that monks get that dirty or something like that. Anyway, it was kind of funny. So, all right. Well, thank you all very much for being here tonight. And sorry about the unstable internet. But, as you know, all compounded things are unstable and therefore subject to stress. And an unstable internet connection is a very good example of that. All right. Again, thank you all for being here. If you're on Zoom with me tomorrow, I'll see you then. I'm not anywhere this weekend, but the podcast will be up at the usual time on Friday. So if you get lonely for me, you can listen to the podcast. And I'm going to be relaxing in an undisclosed location. Just taking the weekend off. So I'll see you next time. Have a good night.